Hey everybody, this is John Scott at Clarion Farms. Today this video is for all you cattle people out there who might be watching. I'm going to show you how we keep things moving around here and walk you through the thought process that I go through whenever we're going to move our cattle. Now if you are like me, you've definitely paid attention to some of the experts that are out there like Bud Williams, and you've read about that. And you hear these awesome stories about these guys who can go out and they can take control of a herd of animals and they can move them around. You know, they speed off on snowmobiles on 100,000 acres and they can round up 2,000 cattle and bring them in and get them to do exactly what they want. And you hear that and it sounds pretty good and pretty, bright and shiny and encouraging. I don't have any of that. So today, this is inexpert advice from Clarion Farms. I'm not on 100,000 acres. We're just trying to move the cattle a few hundred feet. You can't see it, but behind me over there, that's where they are. We're going to bring them into this field today. Between here and there, we have my parents' yard, so that's really exciting. I'm sure that they're thrilled that I'm doing that. And then there's also a road, some distractions down through there, and we're just going to get them from that side to this side. I also don't have a snowmobile. In fact, I'm just walking today, and of course, a couple days ago, I smashed my toe into about 1 million pieces, so that's a fun impediment. So welcome to real life. This is not real shiny, not real pretty. It's just kind of how we make it work and what I think about while I'm planning and while we're moving them, just to make sure that things go as smoothly as possible. So the first thing you'll notice, I set some bait over here. So I have these hay bales spread around, not many, but I do like to have some kind of incentive. I mean, there's a ton of grass in this field. They know it's here. They will find it, but this is highly obvious. They'll come over here, and what I want them to do is stick. So they're, whenever they move, they'll spread out into a long line, and I want those first cattle to get here, to find something, and to stay here so that they don't get any brilliant ideas. Sometimes they have so much fun on the journey over that they want to go back, and I don't want them to do that. So I have these bales set up, and they will come over here. They will hit those. Hopefully they will stick. They'll eat those for a little bit, and that'll give us a chance to get everything buttoned up once they're here. Now here we are. This will be the gate that closes behind them, or I think of it as a gate. It's the fence that we'll put up behind them. So this will be kind of like the final barrier that goes up to keep them in the new paddock that they've arrived in. And you can see I have it already set up. I have it tied on there. There's the spool that I'm going to unwind. So I want this ready and in place, so whenever the herd travels up into that area, I can very quickly then just pick this up and run it across this little stretch here. I already do have the posts in place, which I normally don't like to do. The cattle associate the posts with wire, and this could kind of cause a hesitation. I don't like them to get used to walking in between fence posts, because normally that's what I use to control them. But I've set these up ahead of time already to put the wire on, just for speed. So they get in here and very quickly, boom, I can have this closed up, and then they can't come back, or they'll be more hesitant to come back. This is the alleyway, the lane that they're going to come up. So they'll walk up through here. The road is right down there. They'll cross the road, they'll walk up, come right through, go into that field. That is the objective there. I like to think about a herd of moving cattle the same way that you think about water. So you have to think about the flow. Where it's straight and narrow and easy, they're going to tend to move through that pretty easily. So what I'm always trying to think about is, like, where are those pressure points going to be? This right here is a turn just before they go into their final paddock. So I have 2 strands of wire here. A lot of these alleyways, I'll just use 1 strand just for speed. But on the corners, anywhere that there's a sharp turn or anything like that, or just, like this could be perceived as a clear path through there. So I want 2 strands of wire on this, just as that extra visual. They can see both of them. They know, okay, we definitely need to turn right here. One advantage that we have here from the snow today is that the road that they have to cross is very much the same color as the yard or the grass that they're going to be coming off of. So there's no color contrast here, or at least a minimal color contrast. That helps it out a lot. They're very visual. So sometimes black top up against dead leaves, which is what would be underneath the snow, that makes that's brown on black. That's a pretty sharp color contrast. Sometimes they'll slow down there. What we're looking for is not out of control speed, but we want constant movement, just like water. We don't want them to stop and think about, getting other ideas and maybe running away. We just want them to come right down through here nice and easy. So that's kind of good here that the road is a pretty similar color. I'm happy about that. That should help to minimize those slowdowns and that looking around and the hesitations from them. Something that I do always think about is in these difficult spots where there could be potential for hesitation or anything like that is, you know, sometimes you might lose an animal. Sometimes a calf slips out under the fence and takes off, or if they start to hesitate. And what we want to focus on is the majority of the animals. So it's really a mental challenge to make sure, okay, we lost a couple of them, that's okay. What we want to do is get most of them up into that paddock and secured. That's because they are herd animals. So if one slips out, its objective isn't to run away to Oklahoma. Its objective is to get back with the rest of the herd. So rather than if one gets out, then everybody starts to chase after that one, and then we lose control of 60 more of them somewhere else. What we want is most of them to be contained and settled down, and then we will worry about the others. So they're not going to run away. That is hard to do, to ignore that, but it does work. I mean, if you can contain most of them, then you can usually get the rest of them to come back to there. Earlier this year on a long move that we had, we actually lost 10 of them, and we got like 55 or so of them contained. They were held in the paddock, and we just stood there and waited, and the other 10 just showed up and let themselves into the paddock. So you can get those individuals or those small groups back. They're not going to run completely away. They're going to try to go to where most of the animals are. So we're going to try to get our lead cows in there. We want those things settled, and then the rest of them, it'll be like a big magnet. It'll just suck the rest of them in. So we're always going to try to pay attention to the majority instead of the individuals that get away. Now, something else that I'm looking at here is the transition between different terrain as we're moving. So this alleyway, you can see the cattle back there behind me. They're ready to go. They're going to walk down through this little corridor that we built here. It's pretty rough still. We just hacked it through. But, you know, again, welcome to reality. That's just, it'll get smoothed up. But they're going to come through here. They're going to move down through the alleyway, and then they're going to transition out into that. So you can see it goes from, that's about where they're going to be going, right down through the alleyway right here. So they're going to go from kind of confined and tight in, you know, there's brush on either side, and it looks like a pretty clearly defined path. And then they're going to come out into the yard. It gets a lot more wide open. So I want to be aware of that. They might start to look left and right a little bit more. And then also, to add to the excitement, is this slopes downhill. So again, they're kind of, I think about them like water. Downhill, they're going to tend to move faster. They can get some momentum build up, and they know where they're going. They know that there's fresh grass over there, and they've been in that pasture before, and they like it. So they're excited, they're ready to go. I'm going to try to hold them back as much as possible so they don't run. But to be completely honest, I haven't figured out how to do that consistently yet, because they do know how to get, you know, they know where they're going. And then that transition, they go from kind of a confined spot out into a wider open area. So I do run 2 strands of wire down through there. Then we have a steeper downward slope as we get farther down the road, and then they have to cross over a creek, and then they end up where we started this video, which is actually where they're going to end up. So I do like to build everything from where they're going back to where they are, rather than starting where they are and going to where they're going. That just helps me fit everything together in my mind, what I need to be looking for. So checking out those transitions, building the fence accordingly, and pretty soon we'll be ready to go and see how all this planning went. We'll see how it goes. Take it easy, gang. Here's where it always starts to get tricky. So far, so good. They're going nice and slow. They're going to try to pass me here, I imagine. Easy. Easy. Hanging up at the road again. I never like that. Come on, gang. Come on, gang. So, there are those guys. They're working on those bales I talked about earlier. That's like Velcro. Hopefully they'll stick there. Give everybody else a chance to catch up. Come on, gang. They always have to take their time on the road. Come along. Oh, I guess you got a nice footage of me there instead of them. Looks like some might be stuck. I'm going to turn off the camera and try to help so I have both my hands, and we'll check in later and see how it goes. Well, we made it, and that went pretty well. I have the fence back up in place here now, so you can see they are contained. There's the wire right there. And the cows are on this side. We had a couple of them that hesitated coming across the road, but that wasn't that big of a deal. We got the main group across, had a little bit of bait out there for them, some incentives, so they got to that and stuck there. That gave us time to get the couple calves across the road, which isn't hard. It just takes, you just have to let them make that decision and do it themselves without getting into a flap. So we got that done. They're all ready to go. Now I can take up the alleyway and move their water over here and get them settled in for the next few days. So that is Inexpert Advice with John Scott at Clarion Farms. Hope maybe you learned something. I'll see you next time.